This is The Roadmap with Lee Hinesman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Hinesman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking one day how to exit stage left. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest today, Lauren Hines, the CEO and founder of Hinesmark. Lauren, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me. I'm excited to be here today. Thanks.
Well, you look wonderful. You present wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to hear your story and your journey. Talk a little bit about, because you specialize in the weddings and events area. People only think weddings sometimes, but you do it all. Talk a little bit about the business.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, I started in the events world about 20 odd years ago when I was a student at Howard University in DC. And I was running nonprofit events there. I mean, I would put on an awareness event for lupus awareness, and we had a whole poetry cipher, someone who won got the money prize. We had someone come out to speak who had lupus. And so I think the bug for productions came for me from then. But when I was a 7-year-old, I used to run fashion shows out of my own house.
No,
So
that's
the
wonderful.
production bug has been there, and deciding to change my major into hospitality actually was a major shift as well. But I've been running my own events company for over 12 years now, and running events for 20 years.
So let's talk about, this is really funny because the impetus for this entire career, and I understand 7 years old, starting to run things, but you had an experience in 2009 that might have been this turning point to make it a career. Can you talk about that experience?
Well, I got married.
And who ran your wedding and event?
I did.
So you were not a professional in this area at all?
No, not at all. You know, I made probably the amateur mistake of trying to run my own wedding and running my own event. It did go off beautifully, and I did have some help from friends who were very much so organized like myself. However, I gained the frustration. I think sometimes you come into an industry out of pain point, and I think that's where I saw that there was a need for coming into the industry and making resources and making access easier for those who are planning their weddings and events.
Because when I asked you about this and you said that was, you did your own wedding, you didn't say, oh, what a wonderful experience. You said, no, I know all the pain points, because learning really only comes out of pain, comes out of frustration. If it was easy, you might not even have thought. So just an example, doing your own, what did you learn from it? What did you not like back in 2009?
So I learned you have to be very specific about what you want when you're asking for something. You know, getting information and getting data can be very frustrating for the average consumer. And so when I would reach out to a venue or to a baker or perhaps to, especially the venues, really finding out exactly what information I needed to be able to budget and create a budget for my wedding was very frustrating. It was hard because you had to go in, you had to do the tour, you had to do all of this. And so when I started the online platform for wedding and resources, it came from making information accessible and easy for planning clients. And that's where people said, well, I just want you to plan the wedding for me. How about that? Since you know how to get all of this data and do all of this research, saving time and money. So I started doing that. But I eventually got into the luxury side of things because that's just what I enjoy doing. You know,
so talk about this online platform.
Yeah,
you started with an online platform?
Yes.
Talk about that journey. I
So
didn't know
I
this.
started Get Wed for Less, which is still the parent company. It's over 12 years old. And that online resource was equated to being the online resource for weddings, similar to that of Angie's List. So people would come, they would find vetted thousands of vendors who are here between Georgia, Florida, New York. We went into the most wedding dense, wedding pricey marketplaces. So we were in California, we were in Connecticut. I mean, you saw us in all of these different states. We were across 17 different markets when we started it. But I started getting more busy with people hiring me to plan weddings versus just my online publishing clients. And so I shifted focus after that.
So you said the lion's share of your business is weddings, but we can't forget the event space. Talk about that as well. How did that, you start in the wedding space, you start doing events. Talk about that.
We were doing a lot of productions through Atlanta Wedding and Event Professionals Network, and I had different industry professionals wanting me to run their private events for their companies. And after a while of being within Get Wed for Less, I realized that our market, running a wedding is never Get Wed for Less at this point. I mean, the type of inflation that we're seeing now, it is uncanny, as you can see in every industry. And so I realized that a lot of my clients actually were spending higher end on their weddings as well, but we still gave them high quality at affordable pricing. And so that's where we transitioned our name from Get Wed for Less to Hinesmark Affairs. And hence Hinesmark Affairs is really the name that a lot of people hear, in which we will be doing. We do also our corporate events, and we'll do their weddings. And we also have been doing nonprofit work as well for different causes in the market.
Well, we're going to come back to the
Yeah.
nonprofit work, but before we wrap up, but talk a little about, and you actually segued perfectly into my next question. You didn't even realize it, is delivering that excellence in service, right? The event space and the wedding space has such a high demand for, you expect it to go off without a hitch, right? That's the term, is what you would expect. And how do you do that? How do you maintain that?
First off, let me say there's nothing that's perfect. We're dealing with people, we're dealing with egos, we're dealing with everyone's own agenda. We create a schedule, we have a flow, we're extremely, extremely organized in terms of how we run things for our events, minute by minute by minute. However, challenges arise when people decide, I've had a client not too long ago taking shots during her wedding. And
in the middle of the wedding, because of the stress level.
This is before the wedding ceremony even began.
No,
when usually we've told people at the rehearsal, hydrate, drink coffee, do all of that.
You give them shots after the wedding.
After the wedding.
But
let's get married first.
I like that.
And so, moving that type of client along is a little more challenging when they're slightly inebriated. And so
how do you handle all of this, all the chaos of family and, as you said, the egos?
Yeah, I have an amazing team. And that's part of scaling, right? That's part of even when you create your exit strategy. You need to have successors in place. You need to have great partners in place when you're currently working. And so I have an amazing team, and we just are each other's support. We keep everything in writing. So a lot of what we do is in writing, showing that we're trying to move things along, because that's what's important. It's the culture. We have incredible experiences. I feel like I've really been blessed with amazing clients and great weddings and events. But when you have more challenging ones, the culture of the team is really what allows us to move forward in strength and see the beauty even in the most challenging experiences.
You're taking the words out of my mouth. You again took the words right out of my mouth for my next question, which was, talk about some of the key strategies you use to grow your business, right? So you did it yourself in the beginning.
Yeah.
You talked about your team. Is there any specific strategies that viewers can go, how did you get from here to there? You just didn't hire great people. You don't know that they're great until you train them. Talk about that strategy.
Well, you have to become what you want first. I really believe that. I believe that you do attract in your life a lot of who you are and what you are. There are some unfortunate experiences that occur that you can't be responsible for. However, the majority of what occurs in our life, we can actually take responsibility for that. So I believe first it's becoming. First, you have to sharpen the axe before you chop the tree. We've all heard that analogy before. And so first is that doing the hard work and the heart work on yourself. And then being intelligent. So studying your industry, doing the benchmarking, doing a business plan. I think people
So have you done business plans? Every year, every 2 years? What's your cadence?
I do the first business plan, and then I reassess my financial goals probably quarterly, and annually I'm looking at, okay, what are the goals that I want for my company this year?
Do you bring your team in to do that, or is it just you alone?
So first I do it as a CEO, and then I bring my team in on our retreat. So we do fun culture building things.
Talk about the fun culture stuff, because everybody thinks about the hard work. You're doing this yearly? What's the cadence for people to understand what's successful?
Culture is an ongoing part of our lifestyle as a team. I feel like our organization is a living, moving, breathing entity, right? And so with that, you need to feed it and nurture it and the people within it. Weddings are challenging. Running events, that's not hard. The coordinating of it and all of that is not hard. The hard work, in my opinion, because that's my personality.
Doing cardiac surgery is not hard,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, I had a surgeon client who runs a beautiful nonprofit organization here in Atlanta. And she's like, Lauren, I do surgeries. I don't want anything of what you do.
Everybody has their specialty.
Everyone has their specialty. And so running the events, taking care of your culture, your team, we do actually at least meet. We have a weekly check-in with our key planning team. We actually see each other at least once a month. We're getting together to do something as a group.
Like what? Give an example.
Just last night, I met with one of my teammates who's running her first wedding independently. She had been working with me, training with me for several months, and she booked her own first wedding. And so I took her out, and we had cocktails, and we had dinner that night, and it was just great. So we do those things to celebrate people in between, but we also are competitive in how we pay them. So we're not giving them what the lowest rate of pay per hour for their contract work is going to be. We're actually going above the marketplace for that, because I think you believe you can reward people in that way. And they also can see how you care about them based on how you pay them on time. Even as a business owner, when you've had struggles in your own time in economics, you still take care of your team. You provide for your team, you look out for them, right? Service to many leads to greatness.
Absolutely. And
so
it's,
that's what we
you're the
do.
last as the entrepreneur and owner to get paid.
Absolutely.
You're the last to get
Absolutely.
paid.
I mean, our CPA would be losing her mind right now because she says, pay yourself first, pay yourself first. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure your team sees that you're loyal to them because they will give loyalty back to you.
See, I think you have a really good recipe here of how you grow a business organically like you're doing. I want to ask another question about
And I can't leave out marketing, by the way.
Really? We'll jump into marketing before I ask my question.
Thanks.
Talk about that.
My husband is a web developer. It wasn't intentional this way, by the way, but it just worked out really well that we both happen to be in business. And he's a web developer. So that's when we started out that first web company, the website businessgetwhatforless.com. He was instrumental in really creating that platform. And even my website now, Hinesmark.com, it is created by his company, Envision. And so with Envision and Go Me, we were able to create this amazing platform that is meta tagged. It has the data that can be easily found when you're looking on searches for Google, et cetera. So it's great for organic search. But we also have, of course, the ads campaign that we're running, and we're doing social media marketing. So I do have a marketing and advertising team that's working behind the scenes as well, because you have to be shrewd.
Are they internal or external? Do you outsource that?
They're contractors.
They're contractors.
Yeah, so they're not the planners.
For those out there, not everybody is married to your website designer.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm sure you pay your bills on time.
I do.
Hopefully.
And I pay his bills on time too. Please
Yeah,
believe it.
exactly. So what you're saying though is you recommend getting a good team of contractors such as search engine optimization, website, social media, regardless of it being family or not. You have to have that behind you.
You sure do. You've got to do it. I remember the top of the pandemic when people were, clutching their purses, so to speak. We doubled down on marketing.
Yes, that's the smartest move you can make. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
So talk about, I know what your answer is going to be because I love what you're saying, taking care of your team first, but it also felt like you did a lot of self-evaluation. I want to know, for entrepreneurs out there, what are some of the key skill sets of an entrepreneur or things that people need to work on? Because you said, look out, look at your heart inside.
That's right.
Talk about those key skills. What's important?
There was a book by Jeffrey Clark that talked about having rhino skin. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of that, but you think of the rhino, what he has to go through in the jungle to endure other animals attacking, to endure the inclement weather, or whatever it is that he's having to endure as he moves forward. But the fin that is developed is so thick.
Yes.
We can be still wrapped in velvet. We can still be firm and solid as individual people, but still be warm and engaging on the outside. But you have to have your strength on the inside, and you have to have that kind of rhino skin to allow things to roll off your back. Because let's face it, a lot of what we deal with and we see are mental health issues. People are dealing with things that they are not able to rationalize in their minds. They're dealing with things from work. They're dealing with things that have come from their past, and they don't know how to move forward. And they think in their minds they have. And so they oftentimes will lash out at those closest or around them, when really we have to be the ones, like Michelle Obama says, to take the high road. Right? You have to be willing to take the high road, let things roll off your back, but stand firm in who you are and know who you are, and integrity to say that I know my team and we've done the right thing. So we can always stand firm in no matter the climate. When things are going great, that's fantastic. We love it. We look for those opportunities. But even when they're not ideal situations, they're still going great because they're making us wiser. They're making us stronger. They're making us gel further as a team. Some of my teammates have been with me for 8 years, and so we've grown through a lot in personal lives and in our business lives. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to say that as an entrepreneur, I have been able to learn a lot of the challenges as going through the challenging times, and being able to take that and not run away from it, not ignore it, but process it and see how we can grow through it, because that's really how the diamonds are formed.
Lauren, words of wisdom. My gosh, I love doing this show because I get to learn, right? I'm always inspired by the guests that come on. And I'll say to our audience out there, always moving forward is the most important thing.
Sure.
And the second most important thing, and this comes easy for me, I have a very short memory. So by design, if you can have a short memory, those things can roll off your back instead of you holding them on like anchors. So as we wrap up here, I have to touch base on your philanthropic mode of what you do in business, right? You have a real big give back mentality. And anybody can say it, but if you just don't mind talking about what you do, this is really important to kind of wrap up and bookend who you are as a person.
That's beautiful. Well, it's hard when you say, okay, I'm giving back, because a lot of what we do, we don't do it publicly. We do have a nonprofit organization that is, of course, a public entity. But what we give, I think that starts with the individual. Again, you go back and we say, you don't have to be a multi-millionaire. You don't have to be a billionaire. Just have a giving mindset and a heart. And so my family, I was born in the Bronx, New York, but my family's from Jamaica. And in a developing country, it's a very world-recognized, prolific nation of Jamaica. You still have challenges that you're growing through and going through with infrastructure, politics sometimes. We won't get into all of that, but we see that even in a first world country like America, right? And so within that, we recognize there are certain gaps that we are called to, our own personal pain points. As we go out and serve and do community service in school, you're recognizing certain things that are pulling your heartstrings more than others. Pay attention to that. Those aren't the things that are supposed to roll off your back. Those are the things that help make you who you are, right? And they help you to make the world a better place, because we've each been given talent. We've each been given gifts, and that must be utilized in the time that we have here, right? And so I started a nonprofit organization called Love Fest International. It's a 501c3 that also gives back, and we create amazing events for those who are in need, And so when a life occurrence happens and someone can no longer have a graduation party or a graduation, or someone can't have a prom, or someone can't get married, we helped one soldier actually worked with a bridal show in the DC area to help one couple have their wedding that they couldn't afford to have, So for things like that, you can give back. You might have the resources and not the time, but we have the time and the resources and the sustainability partners to be able to help impact those underserved and deserving individuals.
Well-deserved. I agree with you 100%. I love the fact that you lean into your space and your expertise. And for people out there that want to get into a 501c3 or a nonprofit, you don't have to go outside of your expertise. You're leaning into your expertise.
Absolutely.
And then raising the funds to apply your knowledge and expertise to that for them. So that's wonderful.
It's funny how service leads to greatness, that whole saying, because I was at one of my advertising vendor partner events and met a CEO of another nonprofit. And that became one of my largest clients to date, for me being able to impact their nonprofit through events.
So, I love that. And I got to talk to our audience about this. The way that you grow as a person, as a business individual, don't think about what you can get. Think about what you can give, because the more you give, the more you get back. So,
absolutely.
Guys, we have exceeded our time. When you're having fun, time just flies.
Absolutely.
If people want to get in touch with you for such a multitude of reasons, right? How would they do it across the board? What's the best way?
You can email us, info @hinesmark.com, or they can go to our website at hinesmark.com. Check us out there. And once you email us, you can let us know what you're looking forward to, if you're looking to impact through the nonprofit Love Fest International, Incorporated, or if you're looking for us to be able to help you with an event or any kind of partnership as well.
Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching another episode of The Roadmap. I know that I learned so much on this episode, as well as yourself. Look forward to seeing you next week again on another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Hinesman.